Now, I was asked after explaining that I never wrote music, but only knew words to existing music, and after I only managed to accompany myself on a simple percussion instrument, why that was. It's very simple. I was not musical. I played no instrument and may, as some in my family have since claimed, been tone deaf. However, while putting my books, I was known to whistle cheerfully, and I held up my side of the hymnal in church. My early verse was written on impulse, but it was so well received by my friends that I could not help but continue. It pleased people and required a little effort. I rode horseback a very great deal of my life. And that is a situation which is stimulating to the composition of poetry. Once while so employed, I wrote the following poem, as I often felt the need for speed. For 'tis sweet to breathe freely the balmy air, and walk where we will at morn, eve, or noon, when the step keeps time with the bounding heart, and the strings of life all are in tune. 'Tis sweet to be rocked by the ocean's swell, when the fresh breeze fills the sail, and the light bark leaps o'er the dancing waves, and laughs at the rising gale. But give me the steady and fearless seat on the back of the gallant steed that knows no check to his flying feet, but the hand that rules his speed. To my steed. Well, I would like to devote the remainder of this brief presentation to the Sulphur Springs and salt springs of great recreational and medicinal benefit in Western Virginia. Now, I believe that since my time, due to a war, that is now called West Virginia. I will wait for the train. Remarkable devices for transportation that you all have these days. It is amazing how quickly you can get around. Well, we like to vacation at the springs and enjoy their benefits, and once a good friend had written to me and asked me to explain the situation there, as he was considering the journey himself. You could not reach them at that time, of course, by trains, and so the journey was considerable, and he was considering his options. And so I wrote this poem to him while I was at the White Sulphur Springs. A word of advice about matters and things may be useful to people who come to these springs. First, there's a bell in the morning that rings to awaken the people who come to the springs, and they fix up their ribbons and tie up their strings and look very beautiful here at the springs. There's an insect or two called a flea that here stings the skins of the people that come to the springs. There's a broom and a half here, for nobody brings such implements here to sweep out the springs. There's a maid and a half too, for one of them leans rather much to one side, for she's lame at the springs. There's a bawling all day, but the bawl at night clings the most to my fancy of all at the springs. To conclude, though some things here might do, even for kings, if you wish to farewell, say farewell to the springs. Let me check my time here, Kyle. How are we doing here? We have quite a bit of time. Very good. Well, a Dr. William Burke wrote in his 1851 book, The Mineral Springs of Virginia, with remarks on their use, diseases to which they are applicable and to which they are contraindicated, accompanied by a map of routes and distances. That was just the title of the book, by the way. This is what he wrote in the book. He wrote this introduction to the chapter, Red Sulphur Bear. The following composition appeared in the Southern Literary Messenger for November 1850. It is from the pen of the late Francis S. Key, who, in the summer of 1838, was a visitor at the Red Sulphur when the incident on which it is founded occurred. It really was a most exciting and affecting scene, and one not to be forgotten by those who witnessed it. A few days subsequent to the occurrence, the band had a concert, and this recitative and song, furnished by Mr. Key, formed part of the entertainment. It was recited and sung with admirable intonation and expression by Benjamin Judah, who has frequently repeated it since, with just applause. So I present to you, again, a bear story, or excerpts. There was a bear, alas, that we must bear the loss of such a bear. He was the pet and plaything of the children, men and maids, of the ladies too, wept briny tears for him till all the springs were salt. For alas, he died. Now a bare skin, and some bare bones are all that's left of Bruin, save at night, when blaze the lights upon the mountain side, and music o'er the valley floats and calls the bright-eyed maidens to the sprightly dance. Upon the glossy curls that shade the cheek and brow of beauty, Bruin's fat is there, softening and polishing his silken locks. You see, before we had hair moose, we had hair bear. Bruin, thy chops were savory, so said the chaps that did thereon their chops regale. The ladies ate thee not, they would not feed upon a tame and educated bear, nor me could steak or cutlet, fried or broiled, stewed paw or garnished head, tempt to that feast. For I had seen thy death. It was a death unseemly for a bear, unworthy of thy race. Such was the end of Bruin. Yet before that fierce encounter, other means were tried to lure him back to bondage. For it was said, music had charms to soothe the savage breast, and that he often seemed, when the tones full of richest harmony flowed from the lips of his kind mistress, to drink in the sounds with rapture, like all other listeners. Music was therefore tried, the band was called, and captivating were the strains they poured in Bruin's ears. But it was vain, for he would not be captivated. Then they called two of that band, with voices sweet as notes of nightingale, a power to charm the ear of every listener, and calm the heart with all the magic influence of song. They came, and breathed in sweetest melody a plaintive ditty to this angry bear, beseeching him to lay aside his wrath, resume his chain, and live among his friends. He heard, and heeded not, and when you hear the song that he received so sullenly, you'll wonder that the bear was such a brute, and think he justly died. The song ran thus. O Bruin, come back to thy chain, nor seek thou for home or the mountain again, for the mother that bore thee will know thee no more, and thy brother cubs drive thee away from the door. Why would you return where you nightly must prowl in hunger, as through the dark forest you prowl, to fight the wild beasts for their hoard of sweetened food, or spoil thy teeth cracking the nuts of the wood? What a life you have led since you haply were caught, and here to this sweet little valley were brought. Blessed waters thy drink, its rich dainties thy fare, what more could be wished for man, woman, or bear? It is true you are tied, but Bruin, you know it is all for your good that you are kept so. How many are here who would gladly agree to be tied to a tree? Couldn't they fatten like thee? Oh Bruin, come back to thy chain, nor seek thy far home o'er the mountain again. For the mother that more thee will know thee no more. Now, brother cubs, drive thee away from the door. We tamed you and fed you, and now you are here. Your polite education engages our care. Your manners are mended, some clever things taught, but greater attainments are still to be sought. Carusi is here and shall teach you to dance, how to enter the ballroom and bow in advance to the ladies that sit in a beautiful row, each waiting to see if the bear'll be her beau. Then the waltzing Bruin think only of that, of the ladies bare arms in thy bare arms in wrap. Her bearskin, thy bearskin shall touch. Oh, what bear can bear any pleasure with this to compare? Oh Bruin, come back to thy chain, nor seek thy far home o'er the mountain again. For the mother that bore thee will know thee no more. Now, brother cubs, drive thee away from the door. Bruin the bear. Well, what's our time?